Hey guys, what is up? This is Nathan coming at you with a good internet video. So yesterday I made a terrible video. I mean, it wasn't a terrible video, but like it was super off topic. It was supposed to be my first impressions of the beta. So I'm going to do a little bit more serious today, talk a little bit more in detail about some things. I want to talk about my first impression of this as a competitive title. Like, that's where my focus is going to be around today. So there's a lot of things that have come up and bugs and pros and cons that don't really necessarily relate to the competitive aspect of it. So I'm not going to touch on that today, essentially. Right out the gate, I wanted to talk about some things that are already being fixed. So I won't include them as cons because they've already mentioned that they're fixing them, right? So one of the big things is the time to aim at a sprint. What this caused was people to just sit in corners and you couldn't do anything because you had to invade, right? And that was just a huge problem because you couldn't run around corners. There was no quick way around corners. It was just, if you went around a corner, you normally lost because they were already set up. So unless you were pre-aiming a corner, you were pretty much screwed. And that leads me into my next thing. You couldn't pre-aim corners because there was a lot of sound bugs, right? But that's being fixed already. They've already announced that those problems are no longer problems, right? And it's not even been out for a week. It was a beta, and it's already going to be fixed by the next week. Obviously, not everything can be fixed within a week, so we'll give them some credit. So moving on from what's being fixed, let's hop into the cons, right? Because you always want bad and then the good. So let's talk about the main problem. The first thing we noticed, about our third game in, me and my group of friends, we ended up going up against a bunch of pros, right? We were already late to the beta. We're like 8 hours late. People have been playing this. They were already maxed out. It was TK. Well, when we went up against them, the entire time they were just sitting on head glitches. They were just sitting in spots that we couldn't do anything against because, one, we didn't know the spots, and two, they had just the minuscule part of their head sticking out, but it was enough for them to see us clearly. And this game has just been a head glitches paradise from the get-go, right? Everyone's just like, hey, where can I sit? What is the best location to where they just can't shoot? And there's no way to combat head glitches paradise right now because it takes 2 headshots with most ARs. And the problem with that is it's such a small pixel that you have to shoot that there's not much you can do, honestly. If they're set up, they're going to get the first shot and they're going to get the last because you're not going to get off 2 shots on their head before they can get off 3 shots on your body. There's just nothing you can do in that situation. Another thing is the hill location. A lot of the hills are on spots where there are a ton of head glitches. Now, obviously, there's only like 3 maps in the game, so we're not going to see all of the hills. We're not going to see if these even are the competitive maps. But it's still just a good point right now is the hills obviously need to be changed, and they will eventually based upon just gameplay, you know? They'll see the gameplay, and they'll see what works and what doesn't work, and adjust from there. They've already shown us that they're planning on changing things. So, I mean, honestly, most of my cons right now are things that can be fixed and are already actually being talked about being fixed. Which is why yesterday was so bad, is because I was just so excited about all of these things that aren't even problems, really. So from there, I wanted to kind of move into the pros of it, right? One of the biggest things for me personally, because I mean most of this is just personal, my opinion, right, is I'm an OBJ player, and OBJ players can still streak out, right? What I mean by that is in previous iterations of the game, OBJ players just got screwed. They were just absolutely screwed. They couldn't get streaks. They couldn't do anything really. But now the way it's set up is the streaks are low enough and the OBJ bonus is enough to make up for those kills that your slayers are getting, right? So if a Slayer gets, let's say, 10 kills, I could not tell you the actual math, but a Slayer gets 10 kills for his streak, right? The OBJ player needs like 7 for his streak because of the extra points from the hill, the extra points per kill from the hill, and just things like that that add up and make it to where OBJ players are able to get those streaks that they previously weren't able to. So that's really nice that they adjusted that accordingly. And another thing is the movement, aside from the time to aim, is very fluid. Now, that's one problem that they've already talked about fixing, so I won't go into that again for the 10th time in this video. The movement is super fluid. Running, jumping, diving, everything is super fluid. And what I mean by that is there's no weird like bugs with like diving in it, the time to get up and stuff like that. It's all just constantly moving forward, right? You're just constantly pushing forward. And that's really important in this because it is a fast-paced game, you know? You're constantly running from objective to objective. Even if you're inside of a hill, you should constantly be moving around the hill so that way you have the best vantage point. the movement just accents that perfectly. The final, like, major pro that I wanted to talk about was the mechanics in the game, and I don't want to delve too much into this because I'm going to be creating, like, competitive tutorials, essentially, in the future where I talk more about how X mechanic will help X thing. But the mechanics just fit into what they're trying to accomplish with this game. They fit into the competitive aspects of the game. And by mechanics, I'm mostly talking about the weapons they've given us so far and the weapons they've shown us and how they work, how each one is different. Like the SMGs are SMGs, right? They're close range, the medium range. The rifles are going to be long range to medium range. Shotguns are definitely close range only. Snipers are long range mostly. I mean, quick scoping is a little bit of a thing if you do some black scoping, but other than that, it's not a big problem, right? Quick scopers are not going to be able to compete with a decent AR player. And I think that's really important in the long run and in the grand scheme of making this a competitive title. And they're definitely trying to push this as a competitive title, considering they've listened largely to the competitive community on Twitter and Reddit. They're obviously taking into account their casual players, but they're definitely listening to the competitive side, and that's super important. That's pretty much it, guys. That's my first impressions. I don't want to go too long. I'm going to take off now, guys. If you like this video and the last one, consider subscribing. If you didn't like the last one, consider sticking around to see if you like the next one. Thanks for watching.